The aircraft door opens to a warm Mediterranean wind and a coolly expectant runway. US Vice President JD Vance steps down onto Israeli soil for the first time since taking office, accompanied by his wife, Usha Vance, marking the start of a crucial diplomatic mission at a moment of exceptional fragility. Vance's arrival in Tel Aviv is more than ceremonial. It comes as Washington intensifies efforts to preserve a ceasefire that, while officially in place since October 10th, is under mounting strain. In Gaza, aid trucks roll in fits and starts through checkpoints, their deliveries often halted by renewed exchanges of fire. Each day of relative calm feels like a borrowed one. At Ben Gurion Airport, the vice president is greeted by Israeli and American officials, faces tense, smiles brief. The protocol team ushers the couple from the tarmac toward waiting motorcades. Cameras capture the practiced choreography of diplomacy. A nod here, a handshake there, the silent language of power moving in careful rhythm. As the motorcade departs the airport, its route into Tel Aviv cuts through a city of sharp contrasts. Cafes are open, beaches are crowded, but the air hums with unease. News tickers in Hebrew scroll words like hudna, ceasefire, hostages, echoes of a conflict that even in pause never really stops. This visit by the vice president is Washington's most visible gesture since the ceasefire began. It follows weeks of shuttle diplomacy led by the State Department and the National Security Council, aimed at solidifying an agreement that many in the region fear could unravel overnight. Officials describe Vance's mission as reassurance and reality check. He is expected to meet Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Isaac Herzog, as well as humanitarian coordinators operating along the Gaza perimeter. His message: the United States supports Israel's right to security, but insists that humanitarian corridors remain open and that every ceasefire violation be investigated. Inside the convoy, aides brief Vance on the latest intelligence, reports of sporadic rocket launches from southern Gaza, counterfire near Khan Yunis, and diplomatic back channels through Doha and Cairo still active but fragile. The vice president's tone in recent days has mirrored the careful balance struck by the administration. Speaking in Washington before departure, he said, "Peace cannot survive on paper alone. It must be defended by restraint, by honesty, and by human decency." That line, already replayed on networks across the Middle East, captures the paradox of this trip. A high-profile American visit intended not to ignite change, but to keep change from slipping away. Tel Aviv's skyline looms through the motorcade window, gleaming towers built on years of relative prosperity, now shadowed by conflict. Security helicopters circle above as police clear traffic along the coastal road. The convoy heads toward a secured hotel near the US Embassy, where the first bilateral meetings are scheduled. Behind closed doors, Israeli officials are expected to press for continued US backing against what they call ongoing Hamas provocations. For Washington, the focus is different: sustaining the truce, expanding humanitarian access, and ensuring that post-war reconstruction, when it begins, is guided by a political process, not vengeance. The regional context could hardly be more complicated. Along the northern border, skirmishes with Hezbollah have flared intermittently, drawing concern from the Pentagon. In Egypt, diplomats warn that the humanitarian situation in Rafah remains dire, and in Washington, congressional voices are split, some urging stronger support for Israel, others calling for conditioning aid on compliance with ceasefire terms. Vance's visit is designed to bridge those divides. By standing in Tel Aviv, the administration hopes to project both solidarity and scrutiny to show that American commitment comes with expectations. As he steps into his first meeting, cameras catch him leaning forward, hands clasped, listening intently. The tone is calm, the words deliberate. He thanks Israeli officials for their courage under pressure, but adds pointedly that every civilian life matters, Israeli and Palestinian alike. Outside, the streets are quieter than usual. Police have cordoned off several intersections, and residents watch from balconies as the convoy passes. In cafes, television screens alternate between footage of the vice president's arrival and reports from Gaza hospitals still struggling to restore power and water. For many Israelis, the visit evokes mixed feelings. Some see reassurance, proof that Washington remains an anchor of stability. Others see interference a reminder that even allies have limits. For Palestinians, reactions are cautious, the hope that Vance's words might translate into more aid, more access, more accountability. The next stops on his itinerary include a briefing from UN Relief and Works Agency officials, where he is expected to discuss logistics for delivering fuel and medical supplies through Kerem Shalom and Rafah crossings. Humanitarian groups have pushed Washington to pressure Israel for faster approvals and longer ceasefire windows. In public, the vice president's language remains diplomatic. Privately, aides acknowledge that the US is walking a tightrope, committed to Israel's defense while aware that each new airstrike erodes global patience. That tension is evident in the press conference planned for later tonight. Vance will stand beside Prime Minister Netanyahu, delivering remarks carefully vetted by both sides. Advance excerpts suggest he will emphasize mutual accountability and the shared moral duty to preserve life. Israeli officials, meanwhile, are expected to highlight Hamas's continued violations and insist that the ceasefire cannot survive if one side alone observes it. The symbolism of this visit runs deep. It marks the first time an American vice president has landed in Israel amid an active Gaza ceasefire. The optics, handshakes against a backdrop of caution, speak to Washington's enduring role as both ally and mediator. Yet beyond the cameras, the questions remain. Can the truce hold? Can the suffering in Gaza be eased without reigniting war? And can trust, after so many broken promises, ever truly be rebuilt? Through the evening, Tel Aviv glows under its neon lights. The vice president's team prepares briefings for a working dinner with Israeli defense officials, where discussions will focus on intelligence sharing, border security, and the future of the demilitarized buffer zone proposed under the ceasefire terms. Diplomats describe the tone as cautiously constructive. There are disagreements over enforcement mechanisms, but both sides understand the stakes. A collapse of the truce could plunge the region back into chaos, undoing weeks of fragile diplomacy. In Washington, the White House issues a short statement welcoming the vice president's arrival, calling it an important reaffirmation of America's commitment to peace and stability in the Middle East by midnight local time. As reporters file their stories and satellite trucks hum outside the hotel, one message emerges clearly. The United States is back on the ground, not just watching but intervening, seeking to hold together the thinnest thread of calm. From the tarmac to the negotiating table, JD Vance's presence here underscores a truth often lost in the noise of politics. That peace, however imperfect, begins with showing up.